around you now.
What's up guys, Magic Matrix back again with another video, and in today's video I'll be giving you a demonstration on a pretty well-known card game called poker. Now if you don't know how the game poker is played, basically to start off with, each person is given a 5-card hand. A hand is just all the cards that are given to each person playing by the dealer, and each person has 5 cards, a 5-card hand. I will show you how a normal person would deal hands of poker, and how a magician would do it. Now the normal person, he walked in with 4 of his buddies and they wanted to play a card game. So he suggested poker. He took the deck and he gave it a nice fair shuffle before they began to make sure that everyone would have a fair advantage. Then he dealt out the 5 piles, 1 to each of his 4 friends and 1 to himself. He went all the way around until each pile had 5 cards. The game then began. Now, each person looked at their pile to see what cards they had, and they could see that they didn't have the best cards. And while some people did have better cards than others, no one really had a huge advantage over another. Even the man who dealt the cards, you can see he didn't really have anything too great. So they played their game of poker, one of the man's friends won, and they left happy having played a fair game of poker. Now that's a normal person. A magician is different. See, magicians, they're never trusted at card game tables. People always think they're being manipulated and that the cards are not being well handled by the magician. So most of the time, people won't allow the magician to shuffle the cards. But in this case, a magician walked in with 4 of his friends. Now, at this point in time, they didn't know that he was a magician, and so they let him shuffle the cards. He took them and he mixed them, just like the person who had come in before him. And he told his friends that he wanted to make sure the game was fair for everyone. They looked and they saw that what he was doing seemed to be fair. He then picked up the cards and he did the same thing. He dealt 1 pile to each of his 4 friends and 1 to himself. He went all the way around, and it seemed fair so far. Each person had the same amount of 5 cards, and the deck had seemed to be shuffled. Now the game began, and each person looked at their hand. And they looked and they saw they didn't have anything too great. It seemed fair. The magician seemed to have given everyone an equally good hand. That is until the magician picked up his hand, turned it over, and showed that he won the game with a royal flush. That is the trick, guys, and if you want to learn it, be sure to stick around for the tutorial. Alright guys, let's get into this tutorial. For this trick, you will want 5 cards, the 10, Jack, Queen, King, and Ace of any suit that you like. I like to use spades, but you can pick whichever ones you want. Take those out, and you'll want to line them up like this with 10, Jack, Queen, King, Ace. If they are face up, the Ace should be on the top. You'll take this 5-card packet, and that goes on the top of the deck. That's all the setup is, and you can begin the trick. You can explain how you will demonstrate how normal people deal a hand of poker and how magicians do it. You'll start off with a normal person saying that he walks in with 4 friends, and he just wants to play a normal, fair game of poker. So, you give the deck a few riffle shuffles, just like this, but there is an important step. When you riffle shuffle the deck, make sure that you leave the 5 cards that are on the top. So, this half of the deck right here has those cards, so when you riffle shuffle, just leave a block of cards like that on the top, and that will maintain your ace stack that you had here. So you can give it a few riffle shuffles if you want, and then you say that you will deal 5 hands of poker, 1 to each of the 4 friends and 1 to the man. So just like this, you deal them out and make sure you deal them left to right. I'm doing it clockwise left to right. So just like this. Each pile has 5 cards, and you say the man dealt all those cards out, and the game began. Now, Each person looked at their cards, and I want you to notice at the bottom of each pile is one of the spades that you pulled out at the beginning. So you just go through and you say each person had a fairly equal hand. Don't leave them out too long because you don't want the spectator to notice that every time they're seeing a spade in order on each of the bottom cards. Because this pile, the first pile is the 10 of spades, the second will have the jack of spades, just like this. You show the cards, say they looked at their cards. Third will have the queen of spades like this, and so on. But if you do it fast, the spectator won't really notice that at the bottom of each pile, they're seeing one of those aces. So you go through all the piles, you say each person had a fairly equal hand, some had better cards than others, but no one had a huge advantage. Even the man who dealt the cards, he had an equal hand. Now, you'll say they played their game, someone won, they went home, they played a fair game of poker. Now, when you pick the cards up, you can't just pick them up in any random order, because you need to stack them so at the end you get that royal flush. So you dealt the cards from left to right, clockwise. When you pick the cards up, you'll be picking them up right, counterclockwise. So you pick up the 5th pile, put it on top of the 4th and 5th go on top of the 3rd, and so on all the way around. Now, in this pile, each 5 cards is going to be one of the spades. So you can see here, we go through, there's the ace, there's the king, there's the queen, there's the jack, and there's the 10. So you take this pack of cards, and that goes on the top of the deck. Now you get into the magician dealing the hands of poker. And it's almost the same, but there's a twist. When you shuffle the cards at this point, you'll be doing whatever fake shuffles or false cuts that you know. I'm not going to go into depth of the ones that I'm doing in the video. You can go look some up if you don't know how, or you could just go straight into it without even doing any shuffling, but I think that it makes the trick flow better, so I'm not really going to go in depth of the ones that I did in the performance, but you can go look some up if you want to. The reason you don't want to shuffle the deck is because now those 5 cards that you set up are not on the top, so you can't keep them in a specific place if you do a riffle shuffle. So you can just do some false cuts, whatever you want to do to make sure that you're leaving the cards in their original position. And once you've done that, you'll say, the magician had 4 friends, he mixed and cut the cards, and they began the game. It seemed fair so far, and he dealt 5 cards to each person. And you're just doing the same thing left to right clockwise, dealing out the cards. But remember, every 5 cards was one of the spades. So every time you get to a 5th card, you're giving yourself one of the spades. So by the time you're done dealing 5 piles, it seems fair, even to the spectator, but you already have those 5 spades here. So you say the friends went through and they saw that they had pretty equal hands. No one had very good cards. And even to the spectator, this looks fair. It seems like the cards were really shuffled because the first 4 piles don't really have anything that great. Then you get to the 5th pile, which is the magician's pile. And you say, the 4 friends thought the game was fair, until the magician turned his pile over and showed that he won with a royal flush. And because every 5 cards was one of those spades in order, it gives you a royal flush just like that. So that's the trick, guys. It's a pretty simple one. Really, you just have to make sure that you have your setup correct and in the right order, and that you don't shuffle the cards so that the cards get mixed up. The trick basically works for itself if you follow the steps that I gave you in the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this trick, have fun with it, and I'll see you next time.